Today we're going to take a little break from uh, our study of the circulatory system, study something that is involved in the circulatory system, but study the topic of blood types. And blood types are determined by the presence or the absence of protein or carbohydrate molecules on the membranes of the erythrocytes. Remember, erythrocytes are red blood cells. And on the surface of the cell, their cell membrane, are certain proteins or carbohydrate molecules. And these molecules are called antigens. Okay, they're called antigens. And what do antigens do? Antigens stimulate the formation of antibodies in the blood. Antibodies are good things. Uh, Antigens are something usually considered to be foreign, and they're like they're foreign, and so they stimulate the formation of antibodies. Now, antibodies are substances that are produced by the body in order to eliminate antigens. So you have to kind of look through this thing a little bit. Okay, here we have a red blood cell that has a certain antigen on it, and it stimulates the formation of antibodies. Now, the antibodies are going to react with the antigen of another blood type. Okay, so in other words, the antibody is not going to attack its own antigen. It's going to attack any other antigens other than its own blood type. So it reacts with another blood type. And when they come in contact with another blood type, it causes agglutination. Now, what is agglutination? Agglutination is the clumping of blood cells. So in other words, they would actually sort of form a clot, a clump of cells where the antibodies have attacked this foreign blood type. So you can kind of see, maybe if you're thinking about this, that if I'm receiving a blood transfusion, I obviously don't want my antibodies attacking the blood cells that are foreign to me. Now, yes, obviously you're receiving blood for somebody else and that could be foreign, but there are some blood types that are suitable in this situation. Now, the blood types were discovered actually in the early 1900s by a guy by the name of Carl Landsteiner, and he'd noticed that transfusions sometimes failed and sometimes were successful, and he wanted to understand why they would fail or why they were successful. So what he did is he obtained blood from the workers that were in his laboratory and put different blood types of blood together and observed what was happening. And he eventually figured out what the pattern was. And from his work, he determined that there were a number of blood groups. Instead of there just being one, all blood being equal, there are actually different blood groups, and only certain blood groups could be put together and safely transfused. Some wouldn't work. So in 1901, he proposed the ABO blood grouping that we even use today. So in other words, we've been using it for over 100 years. Now these blood types are based on the presence or absence of certain antigens. It turns out he labeled the antigens one an A and one a B. So what blood type you have is determined by whether you have an A or a B or you don't have an A or a B. Now remember, this is located on the erythrocytes, on the red blood cells themselves. Now, so here's the way he set up his ABO blood grouping. if you were type A, then you possessed an A antigen. You didn't possess a B, you possessed an A antigen. If you were blood type B, you possessed a B antigen, but not an A. Then they found that there was another blood group uh, that is called AB. So this would be like type AB blood, and this blood type has both antigens, both an A and a B antigen. Then there's also a fourth blood type, and in this blood type, they have neither antigen. They don't have an A and they don't have a B. Okay, so blood type A has an A antigen, blood type B has a B antigen, blood type AB has both A and B antigens, and blood type O has neither of those antigens. So antigens, as we said a little bit earlier, they produce antibodies. And these antibodies are going to be of the type that is, they're against any antigen that they don't possess. So if you are type A and you have an A antigen but not a B, that A antigen will stimulate the body to produce an anti-B antibodies. Now, the only time it's ever going to come into play is when you have transfusions or when bloods get mixed somehow. So a type A has an A antigen, but an antibody B. It will try to destroy any B antigens. Blood type B has B antigen, and anything foreign to that would be A, and so it has anti-A antibodies. Now, if you have blood type AB, you have both the A antigen and the B antigen, and so neither of those is foreign to you. So a person with type AB blood will not produce any antibodies. There won't be any anti-A or anti-B. If you are blood type O and you have neither A nor B antigens, then both of those antigens are foreign to you, and so you will produce both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. So O, no antigen, no A antigen, no B antigen, so both are foreign, and so you will produce both an anti-A and an anti-B antibodies. So blood type A, you have the A antigen, and that stimulates your body to produce the B antibodies. You have A antigen and you produce B antibodies. If you have blood type B, you have the B antigen. And what's foreign to you is A, so you will produce anti-A antibodies. If you are AB, you will possess both types of antigens, an A antigen and a B antigen. And since you possess both, neither is foreign to you, you will produce no antibodies. No antibodies. Now, if you're blood type O, you have no antigens, no antibodies. So there's the anti-A antibody, and those are going to be your anti-B antibodies. So the real value of knowing all this information is how it works when there are blood transfusions. So using this chart here, we can have a better understanding what is possible and what shouldn't happen. So if you have blood type A, going across the first row, if you have blood type A, then you have the A antigen, and B is foreign to you, so you're going to have the B antibodies. Now, who can receive your blood? You know, they've asked people to donate blood, and who can they donate to? In other words, who can be the recipients of their blood? Well, obviously, anybody with a blood type A would have anti-B, and there's no anti-B. And then somebody with blood type AB, if you remember, blood type AB has both antigens, so it has no antibodies, so it won't attack any blood. So a person with blood type A can donate either blood to a person with type A or type AB. Now, on the other hand, if you are the person with type A blood, from whom can you receive blood? Well, obviously you can receive A, and if you'll notice a little dagger right here, down here it says on it, this is the preferred blood transfusion for a person. So obviously if you have type A, they would like to give you type A blood. But what if there's no type A blood available at the time that you need your transfusion? You can give type O, or can receive, I'm sorry, you can receive type O. Why type O? Well, type O has neither antigen, so there's nothing to kind of like upset its system by bringing in any antigens. Type O doesn't have any antigens, and so type O blood would be an alternate blood type that you could receive. Now let's look at blood type B. Okay, so in blood type B, you have a B antigen, and anything what's foreign to a blood type of B, and A. A would be foreign to it, so it's going to develop an anti-A antibody. Now, who can receive your B blood? Well, obviously, again, the B person can receive your blood, so because everything's the same. And an AB person, remember, has no antibodies, and so a person of blood type AB you could donate blood to an AB person. Now, from whom can you receive it? Obviously, again, B is the preferred one, and then O for the very same reason as it was back in A, because blood type O has no antigens, so blood type B will be fine with that. Now, what if you have a blood type of AB? Okay, so you have blood type AB. Well, that means you have an A antigen and a B antigen, and since neither of those is foreign, your body has no antibodies. Your blood has no antibodies. So, who can you donate your blood to? AB. I can't donate it to A because a person with A blood has anti-B antibodies, and that would be a bad thing because I have B antibodies. Blood type B couldn't receive it either because they don't have any A's, and so they have anti-A's, and I have A antigens. So only AB can donate to AB. Now, who can they receive? Again, same thing, same blood types preferred, but you can also receive blood from type A. Okay, you don't have any antibodies against A, you don't have any antibodies against B, and you can receive blood from a type O person because they don't have any antigens. And so you don't have any antibodies, so everything's good there. Now, what about if you are a blood type O? That's this bottom one right here. What antigens do you have? You don't have any antigens. So everything is foreign to you. So you have both anti-A and anti-B antigens. You can attack any A or B antigens that get into your body. So you have an anti-A antibody and an anti-B antibody. Who can you donate it to? Well, you have no antigens to create an agglutination in that person's blood. So a person with A, they do have anti-B, but you don't even have any B antigens. B could receive it. You don't have any anti-A, or they have anti-A antigens, but you don't even have an A antigen. AB could receive it, because remember, an AB person has no antibodies up here. We said no antibodies, so they could receive type O blood. And you could also donate it to an O person. An O has anti-A and anti-B, and you don't have any A or B antigens, so that's good. Now, who can you receive blood from? Well, I can't receive any type of blood that has an A or a B antigen because I have anti-A and anti-B antibodies. So I can't receive an A because it has A antigens. I can't receive a B because it has B antigens. I can't receive an AB because it has both A and B antigens. The only blood I can receive is blood that has no antigens, and that's type O. So as you look at this system right here, that you have a type O blood could be donated to everybody. If you'll notice over here, I'll pick up a different color here, maybe purple. Notice that there's blood type O. That kind of makes it dark, doesn't it? O, O, O. So type O blood is a universal donor. Type O blood is a universal donor. And AB blood can be received by everybody. So notice that this one over here type AB blood can get blood from anybody. So they are considered a universal recipient. A universal recipient. Type O is a universal donor. Type AB is a universal recipient. They can receive any type of blood. So these blood transfusions are very important. Just review again. Type AB, if you have type AB blood, you are a universal recipient. You can receive any type of blood. If you have type O blood, you can donate it to anybody else. And so type O in the US anyway is pretty common. And so people with type O blood are they need those in larger numbers because they can give that blood to almost anybody. Now there is another blood system that and it's called the RH system. It was discovered later. It's actually, the reason why it's called RH, it's named after the rhesus monkey, and rhesus is spelled R-H-E-S-U-S, and that's where they get the RH from. And they discovered that it has an antigen also on the red blood cell membrane. And they discovered in humans that most people are Rh positive. They have this Rh antigen. And then there's about 15% of them of the US that lacks this antigen. So if you take this and this Rh factor, and this is kind of like laid on top of the other blood types. So blood type A can also have Rh positive or negative. Blood type B could be Rh positive or Rh negative. AB could be Rh positive, Rh negative, and O could be Rh positive or Rh negative. Some of these blood combinations of blood groupings, the ABO blood grouping and the Rh factor, are certain combinations are pretty rare and some are pretty common. So it's kind of nice to know what your blood type is so that you could be potentially a donor for blood. Now, normally in this Rh factor, normally the human blood doesn't possess any anti-Rh antibodies automatically. It's a little different than the ABO. ABO, if you had blood type A, you had the A antigen, and you automatically had the anti-B antibody. But in people with, it doesn't quite work that way. If you have the Rh factor, you don't develop an if you're Rh negative, I'm sorry, if you don't have any anti-Rh antibodies, but your body can be stimulated to get that if you were to get, hopefully accidentally, if an Rh negative person receives some Rh positive blood, his body would begin to form anti-Rh antibodies. And so the first transfusion, probably nothing's going to happen. But these antibodies do remain in the blood plasma. Now, if later again that same mistake was happen, if a second transfusion of Rh positive is administered, then the anti-Rh antibodies are going to react with the Rh antigens in the donor's blood, and we're going to have clumping of blood cells, we have agglutination, which would be a bad thing. So the ABO and the Rh system together kind of are part of what we have for blood types. Okay, so that takes us to the end of our section on blood types.